Yeah, anyway, it's Game of Thrones season 7 that is coming up very soon. And recently I went on a Game of Thrones themed trip to Northern Ireland because 80% of Game of Thrones is actually filmed in Northern Ireland. So any of the indoor shots are done in a studio there, but you know, a lot of like the outdoor shots are actually filmed in Northern Ireland. It's basically Westeros. So yeah, I spent a few days last week bouncing around Westeros, and this is what I got up to. You can go and see a place called Castle Ward, which is actually where Winterfell was shot. So there is a castle in Scotland, I think called Castle Doon, I want to say, who claims to be Winterfell, but they were used, it was partially used for some of the exterior shots, but all of the interior, like the courtyards and everything like that, and the towers, the main towers, were this Castle Ward, apart from like all the circly towers, which were CGI basically. And you can go there and you can have a Winterfell experience day, and that includes things like you can take a bike all around the grounds if you fancy cycling. You can do archery, which is really fun. Like I discovered I'm actually a bit of a boss when it comes to archery and natural. Who knew? So yeah, if there's any gobshites out there, just be careful because I've got a really good aim. You can go and have like a medieval style lunch in a tent, which is really cool. Like they've got like a fire, they've got like wine and flagons, and they've got like fruit and bread, and it's really good. And there's a fire in a tent. What's health and safety? You can meet the direwolves, like the actual direwolves from Game of Thrones. You can meet Summer and Grey Wind, and you can follow them on Instagram. You've got their own Instagram account. You can do like a little tour which shows you like all things like, you know, Walter Frey's castle, where Jaime Lannister and Brienne of Tarth met the Hanged Men and had like a little fight on a tree. Oh, there's loads of stuff. It's a really fun day. So you can do that from Winterfell tours. And then the next day we went on the actual sort of Game of Thrones tour, which is it's quite intense. Like it's a long day. There's a lot of locations to take in, but you know, how long you spend at each location is kind of like up to your tour group really. There's all different things like the cave where Melisandre gave birth to the Shadow Baby. There's Dragonstone where, you know, Stannis's like, you know, little house was with the big board with all the armies on and stuff. There's the place where Ned Stark beheaded the guy in the first episode of the first season, where he'd you know, he deserted the Night's Watch, and because he'd seen the White Walkers, no one believed him, and so he got his head chopped off. Rude. If you're on season 7 now and you've not gone and rewatched Game of Thrones, you'll be like, oh my god, I don't even remember that happening, or oh god, yeah. So I've actually gone back now and started rewatching Game of Thrones again on the back of this trip. I mean, I was a fan before, but now I'm a super fan, and I'm just sitting there going, been there. That snow there is actually paper, believe it or not. All your tour guides on like the Winterfell tour and the Game of Thrones tour, and probably half of Northern Ireland, to be honest, have all been extras in Game of Thrones at some point. Like they've been in the fight scenes or whatever, so they can give you loads of little, you know, behind the scenes little, you know, tidbits of information. A few of my favourite locations were actually the Giant's Causeway, which is part of the tour, but it wasn't technically in Game of Thrones. I feel like it should have been in Game of Thrones. It's very, very Game of Thronesy. But if you've not been before, it's actually National Trust, so if you've got a card, you get them for free. It's just lovely. It's so peaceful. Like, I can't believe it's not man-made. It's so perfect, the stones. You've got to go and see it. It's not man-made. It's giant-made. It's not to do with volcanic cool and boring. It was made by a giant called Finn McCool, and anyway, you'll learn all about him when you go the Giant's Causeway. I won't spoil it. There's a rope bridge called Carrick Reed, which again is National Trust if you want to get in. If the wind's more than 20 miles an hour, they close the bridge down because it's a rope bridge between two cliffs with a few 100-foot drop onto rocks. So it gets a bit swingy in high winds. We actually went across it in 24-mile-per-hour winds. Oh my fucking god. Because of the direction they were going in, it wasn't like too bad. It was still a little bit ropey. so good with these puns. The really cool story, the one which was my favourite, there's a place in Ireland called the Dark Hedges, and it's this amazing road with these really like gnarled, twisty trees that sort of overhang it. It looks really mystical, it's really beautiful, whether you're a Game of Thrones fan or not. And that was used as the King's Road in season 1 when Arya and Robert Baratheon's bastard, I think it was like Ginley or something. Anyway, they were escaping from King's Landing. There was a big storm in Ireland a couple of years ago and some of the trees were knocked down. So they took them and they made a series of doors which were all Game of Thrones based. They're all like really intricately carved and they're, you know, to do with different scenes from Game of Thrones. Like there's one with like the Stark wolf on it and, you know, the Ramsay Bolton sort of, like the Bolton family crest of the Flayed Man on it with all like these mad carvings about the Battle of the Bastards. My fave. There's one with loads of dragons on it, which is obviously to do with Daenerys and Targaryens. There's one with the White Walkers on it. So they're amazing anyway. And there's 9 of them. And they're dotted all the way over Ireland in pubs. So trust the Irish, they've made a pub crawl out of Game of Thrones. So you can go and visit all the doors. We got to go to like 6 of them. Have fun, guys. And if you haven't seen the trailer for season 7, you need to go and watch it like immediately after this video because it's like sick. Bye.